In this tutorial, we are going to be drafting this bustier on the screen right now. The bustier you see, that's what we are trying to achieve in this tutorial. But before we draft that, I'm going to show you how you can draft your professional basic bodies, because it's with this your basic bodies that you can achieve your corsets, your bustier, and service aside right now. So we are going to be drafting our full basic pattern back and front. So I'm folding my pattern like this just to get the middle, so that where the back will end and where the front pattern will end will not be confusing me. So I'm folding it this way to demarcate. Yeah, you see, this is the middle. So I'm starting my front pattern here and my back pattern will be here. So if you look at this, this is my front, this is my back, and I have already drawn my starting point. I always use 2 inches as my starting point. I decide to use 1 inch as your starting point for your top line, but I'm only using this. Okay, you can call this your shoulder line. This is where your shoulder line is starting. You can call it shoulder line, starting point, top line, anyhow you want it, but I use 2 inches. I have drawn my 2 inches line, so I'm going to start all my pattern from this place. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to mark is my shoulder line. Okay, I'm going to be marking my shoulder line. This basic for this pattern, my front shoulder line and my back shoulder line are not the same. Okay, my front shoulder line and my back shoulder line are not the same. If I measure my front shoulder line, it gives me 15, which is, if I divide the 15 by 2, it's giving me this. It will give me 7.5, right? It gives me 7.5. So this is it. And if I measure my back shoulder line, it's giving me 8. That is 16 divided by, it's giving me 16 divided by 2. It gives me 8 inches. So this for the front, this for the back, right? So the next point that I'm going to mark now, I'm going to get my armhole measurement. This armhole measurement will serve as my bust line. Okay, it will serve as my bust line. So I'm going to mark my armhole measurement. My armhole measurement is 16 divided by 2 will give me 8. Okay, so I measured my armhole and my armhole gives me 16. If it divides 16 by 2, it will give me 8. So the next point that I'm going to mark right now is my underbust. My underbust is 14. So I mark 14. Then the next point that I'm going to mark right now is my half length. My half length or waistline is 17. That is my front waistline. My front waistline is 17. Then from this 17, I'm drafting a full top right now. I'm drafting a full basic top right now. So from this 17, which is my waistline, you come down by 9. This is a standard measurement. I don't use to measure my hip, but if that person is very short, you can use 8 as her hip line. Okay, but if that person is very, very tall, you can use 10 as her hip line. So if you decide to measure your client's hip line, it's also okay, but I'm always using the standard measurement. So from this waistline, I come down by 9. So now I'm going to rule this line right now. If you know that it's always difficult for you to achieve a straight line, you can also come here and mark what you marked here. I marked 8, I marked 14, I marked 17 as my waistline. I come down to this place and mark 9. Okay, I'm doing this so that I will be able to get my straight line. Okay, yeah, so I'll be able to get my straight line. That's why I'm doing this. So right now you can label. So I'm going to label this line now. this is my right. This is my bust line. Is my bust line, right? And this is my under bust line, and this is my waistline or half length. You can label it waistline or half length, right? Then this is my hip line. This is my hip line. To get your across line, we are going to mark 1 inch. You can use 1 inch or 1.2. Here I don't like using 1 inch as my across chest line. For the front pattern, I will just going up by one and decide to measure your nipple. And when you are making this measurement, make sure that your layering bra just above my nipple point is this is above my bust. If you measure above your bust, this is my across chest. It comes up by 1 inch. You come up by 1 inch. If that person is very busty, you can come up by 1.2. But I'm just using 1 inch because I'm not that busty. Okay, so I come up by 1 inch. I come up by 1 inch. So this line is my across chest line. Across chest line. So for the front, the only difference right now is that we are not going to be marking on the bust, and my back half length is 15. Remember that my front half length is 17, but my back will be 15. So first of all, I'm marking the same bust line, which is 8. Remember I said armhole divided by 2, that is my armhole is 16 divided by 2 will give me 8. So I've marked my 8. Then the next line that I'm going to mark is my waistline, right? My front waistline is 15, right? My front waistline is 15. If you measure your own, you can know how many is your back. The difference between your back waistline and front waistline. You know that your back or our back when inside is bent. So there is no way your front waistline and your back waistline is the same. That's why you always get zipper bulge or problem at the back of your dresses. Is because you always use the same waistline in your back pattern and your front pattern. So in this pattern is not the same. We are not making use of the same half length in this our pattern. So I have marked it. I have marked my waistline. Then the next line I'm going to mark is my hip line. The hip line is the same, right? The 9 inches I use as my hip line. That's what I'm marking right now. So after that, we're going to do our line, right? We're going to mark our line. So we connect it with a straight line, just like this. So I've connected my lines. Now I'm going to level. So this is my bust line. This is my back waistline. And this is my hip line. So I'm still going to use the same across chest. Yeah. So many people, we have different patterns. In some pattern, their front bust line and back bust line are not the same. Their front across chest and back across chest are not the same. So there are different patterns to use, but those are the ones I used to achieve all my styles. So I use this pattern and it really works well for me. Okay, there is no too much thing about it, just straight to the point if you pay attention. So this, I'm going to be marking my 1 inch as my across chest, just like I did at the front, right? I'll be marking my 1 inch as my across chest, just exact thing I did at the front, right? This is my across chest line. Okay, sorry, I'm leveling this side across. Yeah, this side. So this is it. So we are done with this horizontal lines, right? So when you come to this place, I marked my shoulder line, right? My front shoulder line, which I say that is 15 divided by 2, will give me will give me this 7.5 or 7.5. So I'm still going to be marking the same here. I'm still going to be marking the same here, right? 8 inches. Yeah, sorry, 7.5. I'm still going to be marking 7.5 inch here. So I'm going to roll this. I'm going to roll it down this way. Here, this my line is not looking straight. What is happening? 7.5. It's not looking straight. It's not looking straight. So here again, at the back, I used 8 inches. 8 inches, that is 16 is my back shoulder divided by 2, giving me 8 inches. So I'm marking 8 inches. So from this side to here is 8 inches, that's for the back. Then here to here is 7.5 inches, that's for the front. Front shoulder, back shoulder. So back armhole, front armhole. So the next thing we are going to do now is to put our shaping line. First of all, we are going to mark our bust. We are going to get our bust measurement. Here, you measure your bust circumference. You first of all measure your bust circumference. My bust circumference now, is 41. After you measure your bust circumference, there's what we called front arc and back arc. Okay, front bust. I don't know. I'm going to be putting a picture of how you can measure your front arc. So looking at the picture on the screen, you will see how they measure their front arc. Okay, that is, you can call it front bust line. You measure it from center to the middle of your armhole, or the middle of your side, the middle of your armhole. That's how you measure your round front arc. So after you get your front arc, my front arc is 23. So if you minus your front arc from this your bust circumference, 23, 41 minus 23 will give me 18. So this is now your front. This is now your back arc. So I measured my front arc. After you measure your front arc, you need to measure your back arc again. And we are going to minus what your answer from your full circumference for your round, your bust circumference, and you get your front arc. So I'm going to be using this 23 is my front arc, because you know that front is always bigger than your back, right? Yeah, your front bust is always bigger than your back because of your full breast, right? Then the back is smaller. So we are using 18 as our back arc, then 23 as our front arc. So this is it. So here, this is our front, right? We are going to divide this 23 into 2. Okay, normally you divide your full circumference, that is 41 into 4. But since you've already divided it into 2, which is 23, 18, the next thing you're going to do is to divide each into 2. So for the front, which is 23, we are dividing it only by 2. So 23 divided by 2 will give us what? It's going to give us 11.5, right? It's going to give us 11.5. So this is my 11.5. So I've marked my 11.5. Then the next thing you're going to do is to mark your back bust arc, which is 18 divided by 2 is giving me 9, right? Yeah, it will give us 9. So I'm going to mark 9 right here. So this is what I got. This is where I marked it. Then the next thing we are going to be marking is our waistline. My waistline is 30. My waistline is 36. 36 divided by 4. You are dividing your waistline, your round waist, okay? Your waist circumference. You are dividing your waist circumference into 4. So 36 divided by 4 will give me so I don't know. So this is how I get my measurements if calculator is not beside me. So I'm not making use of calculator. This is how I get my measurements. You first carry the tip of your tape. Put it on the 36, which is your measurement. This is my round base, which is 36, right? Then I have divided it by 2. This is divided by 2, right? And I'm looking for divided by 4. So this is divided by 2. Then I'm going to carry it now. See, I've already marked this place, which is 18. If you divide the 6 by 8 by 2, it will give you 18, right? Then I'll divide it again. I'll put it in that 18 again. So this is my 36 divided by 4, which is 9 inch. Just exactly. This will give you exact measurement. It will give you the exact division that you're looking for. So this is my 9 inches. Okay. So I'll be marking my 9 inches on my waistline. So this is my 9 inches. This is my 9 inches. Then I'm marking the same thing. I'm marking the same thing at the back. Okay, nothing changes here. The same thing you mark at the back is what you're going to mark at the front. So what of hip line? Also, our hip lines for the front and back are not equal. Especially for people that have big buttock. Okay, so if you have big buttock, even when you don't have, we still measure it the same way we measure our bust, front, back, bust, and the back bust. It's the same way you're going to measure your back. So first of all, measure your hip circumference. My hip circumference is 45, right? My hip circumference is 45. Then if I measure my back arc gives me 24. My back arc gives me 24. Then 24 minus 45 minus 24 will give me 21. So this is my back arc. This is my front arc. So just like I told you that, if like this now divided it into 2, so you are going to divide each again by 2. Okay. So first of all, I'm marking my back arc, which is 24. 24 divided by 2 will give me 12. This one, 21 divided by 2 will give me what 10 and a half, 10.5, right? Will give me 10.5. Hope I'm correct. Yeah, will give me 10.5. So this, we are going to be marking this here 12 inches. I'll first of all mark my 12 inches. My 12 inches is here. Then for this is 10.5 inches. 10.5 inches is here. So after that, I'm going to connect my lines, my dots. This is for the front. Connecting with my straight ruler, as you can see. Okay, so this is for the front. This is for the back. This is for the back. This is for the back. This is for the front. This is for the back. So the next thing we are going to do is that we are going to achieve our armhole right now. We will mark our armhole measurement. So first of all, I'm going to use this triangular form here to get how my curve is going to go. So I'm going to just put these dots here so that if I'm marking my 1 inch, normally standardly, the standard measurements you can just use 1 inch here, okay? But I divide here. Divide the distance between this your shape line and this your armhole line. You divide it by 4. When I divide my own, it's giving me this. This is giving me 4. So you divide it by 4, it will give me 1 inch. So I'm going to be marking. If you are marking your 1 inch, make sure that your tape is straight to this point, right? If I mark it straight now, it goes to this point, right? This is it. So, or you can draw your straight line just to show you where your 1 inch will reach. So this is my 1 inch, right? This is my 1 inch. And you come this way, divide your armhole line, divide it by 2. It will give me 4 inches. So I mark it. After marking it, I come out by 0.5 inch. Okay, this is where I'm going to put my curve now. So now let's mark our armhole. You can, if you know how to use your free hand, you can actually use your free hand rule, because sometimes to use this is even more difficult. Okay, to use this ruler, sometimes it doesn't really give you what you are looking for. So I'll be marking it 2 times. I'll first of all connect this particular line, then so that I'll be able to get my curve well. So I'm going to be connecting. This is actually, so I'm going to be connecting it this way. If you can use your free hand very well, it can also serve you better. So this is it for the front. This is my armhole for the front. Then when you come to the back, right now, this is only the distance that I have. So you can just use, if this is 1 inch, you divide it by 2, it will give you 1. So you can still go ahead and mark. Then I'll come here, divide it by 2, which is 4. Then I come here, I'm marking 0.5, marking 0.5 again. So my dear. So let's just make use of this curvature. So this is it. It's okay. So right now we are done with our armhole. We are done with our armhole and our shaping line. So what else you are going to do is to measure 0.5, 0.2 from this shaping line, 0.2 and mark, then 0.2 and mark. The same thing with this place, 0.2 and mark, 0.2 and mark. Don't say this is not important. This is called prime line, and later you see why this prime line is used. So you are going to mark, connect with your straight ruler. This is your prime line. So I think I should make use of red marker so that you will see it clearly. So this is my prime line. So I mark for the front. So after marking your prime line, you will come this way. You will give it a dotted line. From here, you can actually use from here right now. You are going to, from this prime line, you are going to connect a straight dotted line, just like I'm doing it. All the lines, every single thing we are doing in this pattern, all of them are important. So mark your dotted line. Then from this one again, from this, okay, sorry, mark from here. Mark from here again. You see how it will come from this red line to this point, then it's come here again to the red line. Connect it from the middle. You can connect from the middle, mark dotted line to the red line, then connect from this middle again, dot to the red line, from here to the red line, from here to the red line. Okay, so this is our prime line. This is our prime line. So after this, we are going to go ahead and mark our darts. Your nipple to nipple divided by 2. Okay, I know that you should know all your basic measurements. You should know how to measure your body. Okay, you should know all your measurements. So this particular one is nipple to nipple. I'll be using my nipple to nipple measurement. My nipple to nipple measurement is 8. Okay, so 8 divided by 4 will give me 8 divided by 2 will give me 4. So from here, from on the bust, from here, I'm marking my 4. I'm marking my dot line. But and from here you come down by 6 inches. This is where your dart will reach. Come down from waistline 6 inches. This is where your dart will reach. But to get your nipple point, your nipple point is always where your dart will reach, right? So but we don't have nipple line here. So to get your nipple line, you the prime line. The first time I'm going to use this prime line. This you measure the distance between this your shaping line and prime line. For the back, it will give me 1.5, and for the front, it will give me 2.2. To give me 2.2. So you add this together, which is 3.7. You divide it by 6. I don't even have my calculator with me, so I'm going to use my tape to get this measurement. Just give me half inch. I'm guessing half inch. I don't know whether it's correct, but this is the formula. So you add this to this. You add this, your prime line, to this. You measure this for the back, measure for the front, which is 1.5 and 2.2. If you add them together, it will give you 3.7. Then the answer you got, which is 3.7, divided by 6. This is what you are going to use for your front dart leg and for your back dart leg. So I got 0.5, which is what I will use as my dart leg. So if you come here, you mark your 0.5, come to your waistline. This is where you mark it, your dart leg, right? And come to your waistline, you mark it. Still come to your back waistline, you mark your 0.5, right? So after that, I'm going to connect it with straight ruler, just like this. Then you connect it towards the hip. So this is my dart. So you still come to this place, connect it just like this. If you check very well, you know that this dart, my open line stops at this place. If I'm cutting through, or even if I'm sewing my dart, I'm not going to sew it to the end of this my nipple. So I'll be coming down by 1 inch. This is where your dart, if you are sewing this on your fabric, this is where your dart will reach. Don't sew it up to your nipple points. You sew it to reach just 1 inch below your nipple points. This is where you are going to sew it reach. So I mark this side. So this is it. So we are done with this dart line for the back, and I'll still come to this place. If I come to this underbust, if you measure the difference between my back waistline and my front waistline is just 2 inches. My back waistline is 15, my front waistline is 17. So 17 minus 2, 17 minus 15 will give me 2 inches. So I'm going to, this is what I'm using as my bust dart. know that we have bust dart. So this is what I'll be using as my bust dart. You come to your nipple line, mark 2 inches below. This is my 2 inches below. So I'm going to connect it to the bust point. I'm going to be connecting it to the bust point. If you are sewing this direct to your cloth also, you are not going to sew it up to the nipple point. Instead, this is how your line should go, so that your sewing might not doesn't need to reach nipple point. Okay, so that's that part. Let me explain to you how you are going to. You see, some people are usually confused because they'll be like, my back length is shorter than my front length. If I'm shaping these clothes now, if I'm joining them together, how is it going to rhyme? Okay, how is it going to be equal? They are not equal now, so we are definitely going to have problem, right? Yeah, there will be no problem at all because of this. The 2 inches, if you measure here, it's only 2 inches different, right? The 2 inches is what you are going to use as your bust dart here. Is what you are going to use as your bust dart. So if you are cutting now, this you reach. I will show you how you are going to cut this place. This place will be closed like this. And when you close it like this and measure here, the side of this front pattern and back pattern will now be equal. After you close this dart, or you cut it off and close this line like this, the size of this pattern will be equal. Okay, so there will be no problem at all when sewing. The only problem is when you did not put your bust dart. Okay, when you do not put your bust dart, that's when you are going to get a problem. If you are using a free hand, you can go ahead and make your back length line and front length line equal, no problem. But if you want to have this your full basic body pattern the right way, just use this measurement. So we are going to remove our zipper bulge. Most times after sewing your dresses, you realize that there is zipper bulge. There is your zip will puff up from the back. Okay, that is called zip bulge or zipper bulge. So how to eliminate it? Let's eliminate that right now. So you come here, you mark 1 inch at the center of your back. If you come to your waistline, you mark 1 inch. Then you will connect it just like this, a straight line. Okay, let me use another pencil, another marker. This one, we're also going to connect it this way. I'm also going to connect it this way. Then, if you are making only half length, only a dress that has half length, because you're going to cut through here, so you're still going to mark like half inch here again to remove your butt. So we are not making such outfit. So I'm only going to use this 1 inch and remove my zipper bulge. Okay. So this is it. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to draw our bust radius. We are going to draw our bust radius. I'll be using pencil. I'll be using pencil to draw my bust radius. Remember, we've not even come up, we've not drawn our neckline, shoulder length, our neckline. So let me finish with this first. So we are going to do our bust radius. This is very important because from this you can achieve your corset. From what we are doing, you can achieve your corset, your bustier, and different pattern. So it's very important that you get used to this basic pattern. It's very, very important that you get used to it. So you make sure that this is at the middle of your that line here. You place it there. At the front here, I'm going to mark 0.5 because I'm also going to be using this pattern as my corset pattern. So I'm going to just mark half inch. Yeah, maybe half inch or 0.3 inches. So I'm marking half inch there. This half inch that I marked here is where my pencil will be. Will be starting from, and this my compass will be starting from the middle. So you hold it like this. I'm just trying to this is my radius. I can use this thing and make it clear for you. Make sure you get your circle correctly. So this is it. With this now, I can achieve my corset, my bustier, so many of them. So this is it. Then let's go to our neckline. We are done with almost everything here, right? Yeah. So let's go to our neckline. So here, how I normally get my basic neckline is my bust divided by 8. My bust divided by 8 will give you your basic neckline. So my own is 3.1. Now come down. The standard one neck is 3 inches, right? I think you should know that already. So it's 3 inches. So I'm going to mark. I'm going to use my straight line, connect it this way. Then this is where I'll be putting my shoulder slant. I'll be marking it up so that I will not have to be putting half inch allowance for the sewing. So I'll be marking my shoulder slant up here. I'll be using just half inch, right? I'll be using just half inch. So this is where my neckline will now reach. Now mark, I'll slant my so this is my shoulder slant, and this is where I'll be marking my round neck from. So this is my round neck for the front. Then for the back, I'll still use my 3.1 that I got from my bust line divided by 8 inches. Then I'm still going to mark my 3 inches standard measurement, right? Oh, sorry, for the back is 1.5 inch. So we use 1.5 inch. That's standard, right? It's standard. I think you should know that also. 1.5. So we still put your half inch. I'm using the same shoulder slant. Your half inch as a shoulder slant. So I'm going to mark it like this. This is my shoulder line for the front and back. So we draw our. So this is it. Oh, basically we are done with our full pattern. So let's go straight to the business of the day. So I'm just trying to show you the basic. So for this pattern, you can achieve a lot. You can achieve your corset, you can achieve so many things. So let's go straight to what we are doing here. So I'm trying to draw a bustier, and this bustier now doesn't have up, right? So this bustier right now doesn't have up. So this line, you're going to determine where you want your off shoulder. Okay, this is off shoulder that I'm making, so you determine where you want your off shoulder to reach. So if I measure this here, my own is giving me, so I'll be needing it to be at this point. At this point, still mark it for the back. I'm using 6 inches. I'm using 6 inches, right? I'll be using 6 inches. Then mark it up to this line. So I'll be using 6 inches. Here, you're going to give it a V shape. You're going to be marking it down to your nipple line. So I'll be marking it down across chest line. So if you want it deeper, it depends on how deep you want this will come as sweetheart neckline, right? So but here it depends on how deep you want your own sweetheart neck. I don't really want my own too deep like that, so it's going to just stop at this across chest line. Across chest line, it's not going to go deeper to my bust just here. So I'm going to be marking from here. So first of all, I'm going to determine the middle of my shoulder. This is my shoulder line. I'm going to divide it into 2. And mark. This is my shoulder line divided by 2. I'll do the same at the back. I'm trying to check if my camera is still working. So I'll do the same here. So I divide my shoulder by 2 and mark. So you're going to make sure that it touches this nipple line. You use your straight ruler and mark it up to this place. Then this 2, mark it up to this place. So here here I'm going to determine the dots that I'll be using. So I'll be marking, I'll be using 0.7 because I really want it to give me that curvy shape well. So I use 0.7. This is my dot. So you are going to connect, this is your bust dot. So you are going to connect this dot. So I use 0. Okay, you are going to this where our line is coming from, right? This is our line. So this is where I'm supposed to mark this 0.5. So I'm going to draw it to this point. Okay, this is my dot line. And then this line, I'm going to cut through. I'm going to cut through here because I want to close these dots, right? So I'll cut through this line. My fingers. So that I'm cutting through so that it will be easier for me to close that our bust that line. So here I'm going to, before you can divide this one into two, before you can close this line, divide it into two. If you can divide it into two, it will give you 1 inch, right? You mark it, then use your straight ruler. Connect it like this before you can now then let's close our line. Do the exact thing that you are seeing me doing, right? You close your dot line. Then use paper to hold it. Use your paper gum to hold it down. So as you can see, it's already giving me that bracket shape, right? Once you close it, it will give you that bracket shape, right? So, but before that, I still want to contour this place. I want to contour this place so that this will be able to hold my breastbone, my underbust up well, so that it will give me a very rounded cuff shape. So let's leave this one aside now and contour this my underbust. So from here, from my waistline, I'm going to put, for my bust line, I'm going to use 0.7 inch, 0.7 inch, just like I use in this place. Then, sorry, from this side, I'll use 0.7 inch from this armhole side. Then here, I can use just 0.3 inch, because this side is where I really need this cup to be so curvy. So I'll use my curve ruler, connect it this way. How do I? Sorry, I'll place it like this. I'll place it this way. It's already giving me that cup shape. Then come to this side again, to this 0.2. Sorry, come to this place again. Okay, so this is our that line. So even when you are sewing corset, this is already giving you that cup shape. Okay, but that's not the kind of corset we are sewing. So I will use this and mark a straight line to this waist dart. Just do exactly what you see me doing. You are going to achieve a greater result, a better result. So I've connected it this way. I've contoured my under bust right now and my over bust. Everything is ready. Then I can now go ahead and close my darts. I can now go ahead and close, yeah, and close my darts. Right. So this line will come like this. So I'm using a sweater neck. So it's going to come like this. It's going to come. I'm trying to get the shape well. So it's going to come. It's going to come like this. I don't know what I'm putting. It's going to come like this, and this particular one now is going to come to the armhole. It's going to come to the armhole. Just mark it straight to the armhole, straight to the armhole. So when you come to your back, it depends on how deep you want your center back to be. So it depends on how deep. So you can make it 10 or 11 inches. Then after that, you still connect it to armhole. You are connecting it to armhole so that it will still be equal to your armhole. So I'm going to connect it to my armhole just like this. You can come down by 0.5 inch and connect it just like this. So this is my back, this is my front. So I'm going to cut out. I'm going to cut out the shape that I marked. So first of all, the dam, how is the dam going to look? So I'll be to connect it this way. But the length, this length that I'm using is too long. It's too long. I want this top that I'm making now, I want it to be as hip like here. So the measurement is, I'm using 24 inches as my top length, 24 inches. So I'm going to be marking this 24 inches as my.
Yeah, I just realized I just want to use 24 inches at my length. So that's what I'm doing now. So I'm cancelling the first length and marking my 24 inches as my length here. Okay. So that's what I'm marking. And for the back, I didn't mark from shoulder. I just minus 2 inches, which is still the difference between back and front. So I've marked it, and here I'm going to come up by 3 from the length. I'll come up by 3 so that I'll be able to slant it this way. So I think we are done with this pattern. Okay, so let's cut it out. So pay attention very well to see how we are going to cut it out. From here, you are going to blend your line the same way you saw me did. And I realized that here I didn't close up my darts very well. Make sure that you close all your darts very well. That this your bust dart, close it very well before you cut out, so that if you are sewing, your front side and your back side will still be equal. Okay. Thank you for watching, guys. So if I'm sewing it, I'll show you how I sew it, and if I'm cutting on fabric, I'll still show you how I cut out my pattern on my fabric. Okay, so also make sure that you label all your pattern. Label the center front, the side front, the center back, and the side back. This pattern, you are going to be cutting it two pieces. I'll be cutting my own two pieces, as they are 4. If you finish cutting it on fabric, there will be 8 pieces.